Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Mucking Fun Day. That's right, everyone's favorite day where the weekend's over and now we have to get back to work. So, what news stories happened over the weekend? That's what we're here to find out and tell you today. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up the news 10 to 15 minutes before we've started and we haven't had any caffeine. Bring up a warm one and let's read out these headlines for today's show. Today on Before Coffee, Belarus strongman extends his rule after an election rejected by opposition and the EU. Sweden investigates Vezhen ship over Baltic cable damage.
Good morning from the United States. In your non-gaslight news, bird flu outbreak explained. California declares state of emergency.
Breaking news! Hungary backs down from veto threat and allows renewal of EU sanctions on Russia.
And in technology news, Subaru security flaws exposed as its system for tracking millions of cars.
In culture news, house next to Auschwitz opens to public amid alarming international survey results on the Holocaust.
And it's National Bubble Wrap today. National Bubble Wrap Day. So start popping in bubbles. It's January 27th, 2025 on Before Coffee.
I love bubble wrap. It's a great stress reliever, you know? You just grab some and you just crackle and that. It's also, I guess, kind of like ASMR. Really relieves something in your brain. Because that cracking
It's definitely not annoying. Definitely not annoying to other people in the room.
Well, just do it in a room by yourself. That's what I do. Why would you take some bubble wrap and go in the living room and then start popping it? Yeah, that'd be weird.
Why not?
Well, what's also weird is extending your rule as everyone's saying you totally rigged the election, but you know, that's classic. That's the classic strategy for people who are part of the new Russian Federation, like Belarus. This is by Associated Press. Belarus's authoritarian president, Alexander Lukashenko, extends his more than 3 decades in power, totally normal, on Sunday's orchestrated election that the opposition and the European Union rejected as a sham. Sunday, of course, was the 26th of January. The Central Election Commission declared Lukashenko the winner in the early hours of today and reaffirmed it later in the morning, saying the strongman leader garnered nearly 87% of the vote after a campaign in which 4 token challengers all praised his rule. Yeah, 87%, that's a normal amount. Lukashenko's opponent, many of whom are imprisoned or exiled abroad by his unrelenting crackdown on dissent and free speech, called the election a sham, much like the last one in 2020, that triggered months of protests that were unprecedented in the history of the country of 9 million people. Over the 4 years, more than 65,000 people were arrested and thousands beaten, with the crackdown bringing condemnation and sanctions from the West. European Union has rejected Sunday's election as illegitimate and threatened new sanctions. Lukashenko has been in power since 1994, as long as I've been alive, and has ruled the country with an iron fist. He relies on subsidies and political support from Russia. Lukashenko allowed Moscow to use the country's territory to invade Ukraine in 2022, and later hosted some of the Russians' tactical nuclear weapons. So they got nukes, and they've got a dictator. There's your news coming out of Belarus. I mean, nothing else to really say. Like, what do you get? You have to wait for the guy to die at this point, because he's not letting go of the reins, ever.
Right.
And he's probably not even old enough to die, and that's more sad than anything. In more, drama in the east, I guess. Swedish authorities have boarded a Maltese-flagged cargo ship called the Vezhen, suspected of damaging an undersea fiber optic cable between Latvia and Sweden. This is on the Helsinki Times. We can confirm that persons from Swedish authorities have been on board the vessel to carry out investigative measures, spokesperson Johan Wilkström stated, declining to comment further. The Vezhen, owned by Bulgarian shipping company Navigation Maritime Bulgar, was escorted by the Swedish Coast Guard to waters near Karlskrona, where it remains anchored. Images from the Swedish TV4 show a damaged anchor on the vessel, which experts believe have been contributed to the cable breach. Bulgarian authorities denied any sabotage, suggesting that the damage could have occurred unintentionally. The anchor may have dropped due to strong winds and rough seas, says Alexander Kalchev, CEO of Navigation Maritime Bulgaria. He added, "The vessel could have caused the damage but was not involved in the sabotage." The incident is the latest in the series of underwater infrastructure breaches in the Baltic Sea, including the Finnish-Estonian S-Link 2 power line and multiple telecom cables last year. NATO has since increased its presence in the region, deploying frigates, patrol aircraft, and naval drones as part of the Baltic Sentry mission to protect critical infrastructure. Captain Marko Laaksonen of the Finnish Navy emphasized the importance of NATO's operation in deterring potential threats. The enhanced presence safeguards sea connections and infrastructure that are vital for all of us, he told Radio Suomi. Finnish Foreign Minister Elina Valtonen said Finland and the EU are working closely to counter hybrid threats and illegal maritime practices linked to the shadow fleets, often associated with Russia. These poorly insured, aging vessels have been accused of sanctioned evasion and deceptive tactics. We are in a situation where Russia is waging an aggressive war in Europe in violation of international law. It must be addressed, Valtonen said. The investigation into the Vezhen is ongoing. Swedish authorities have yet to confirm whether the vessel caused the cable damage intentionally or by accident. Meanwhile, Latvia has also launched a separate inquiry into the incident. I think, yet again, similar to the previous, couple of ship invasions here, or mysterious ship sabotage, whatever you want to call it. Yet again, it's a ship that's kind of on the wrong side of the oceans. It's weird that a Bulgarian ship is in the North Sea. It's weird that an Indian ship was in the Baltic. Not the Baltic, the North Sea. So it's like, what's going on here? Why are they up there? Why they're usually down there? Yeah, I mean, it's just weird because if you're a Bulgarian ship, you're going from Bulgaria all the way around Asia to get to the North Sea. I'm not sure about all the water
Asia.
Routes. Yeah, because Bulgaria's on the other side of Europe. They're closer, the south. So, I don't know. For me, it's weird because why are they going all the way? I guess they can go all the way around Europe through the Mediterranean. It just doesn't seem like a smart. It doesn't seem like a smart trading route. It'd be better to trade over land. Like, usually you would use ships for things that you need to get across water for. So,
okay.
I just think
that's where they go.
Yeah, I think it's weird to be trading over the sea and not over the land when you're probably easier to get there from.
Oh, large bulk items are a lot easier to put on a ship and go overseas.
Yeah, but we have trains.
Trains? You know how many trains you can put on a ship? How many train cars? 1,000. You know,
I don't know. I don't just makes any sense to me to be using ships to trade with Sweden.
Why not? It's a sea route. You can take things. You can stop at different ports. You don't just going to one place typically.
Either way, there's been some damage, and that makes it more suspicious. That's all. So that's my stories on the goings on in the Eastern Europe. Onto your story.
Okay, so bird flu we're going to talk about. This is from BusinessInsider.com. The bird flu is going to take over the headlines as far as the United States this year, I predict. As long as we're making prices go high by deporting farm workers, and we're going to leave crops unpicked and fruit unpicked all this year. We're also going to have animals dying from bird flu. So here we go. As the price of eggs is going to skyrocket again, and hopefully we blame the president again this time, because it's definitely going to be his fault. Because, well, we know what he did in the last pandemic. He did nothing until it was too late. To stop it, I should say. Not too late for everybody, but definitely too late to stop the spread. So I guarantee he's not going to do much about this either. This is from Aaron Snodgrass Morgan McFall Johnson. A bird flu outbreak has ravaged the world's birds since 2020. California Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency over the virus this weekend. Health officials also confirmed the first severe human case and hospitalization of the H5N1 virus. The burgeoning bird flu outbreak continues its flight path across the country this week with two major developments that point to the virus spread. California Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency over the weekend over the virus on Wednesday, citing a worrying number of infected cattle herds throughout the state in recent months and the need for more resources. Since the state's first identified the H5N1 avian influenza virus in cattle in late August, California's agricultural department has confirmed 645 infected dairy herds. Newsom's announcement, meanwhile, came just hours after health officials confirmed the first severe case of bird flu in Louisiana, saying a person was hospitalized with an infection after being exposed to sick birds in his backyard. In recent months, infectious disease experts have grown increasingly nervous about the possibility of a human pandemic linked to the virus, even as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has maintained that the public health risk is low for humans. Here's where things stand. The H5N1 virus first reemerged in Europe in 2020 and has since become widespread in birds around the world. The outbreak has killed tens of millions of birds and tens of thousands of sea lions and seals in recent years. Birds carry disease while migrating and can expose domestic poultry to the virus while never showing signs themselves, according to the CDC. In a major escalation this year, the virus jumped to cattle herds for the first time ever. Then in October, a pig in Oregon tested positive for the virus, an especially concerning case as swine can host both bird and human flu viruses. There has been no known human-to-human transmission yet. Still, the growing pattern of mammal-to-mammal transmission has infectious disease experts on guard against the possibility that H5N1 could eventually become a human pandemic. If it keeps spreading in animals, then it's eventually going to cause problems for humans, either because we don't have food, because they've got to start exterminating flocks, or because it starts to make a jump into humans. Dr. Jerome Adams, a former Surgeon General and Director of Health Equity at Purdue University, told Business Insider in April. The more it replicates, the more chance it has to mutate, he said. The ongoing multi-state dairy cattle outbreak, which is believed to have started in Texas, good luck Texas, because you don't do anything right, has infected 865 herds across 16 states and has led to a growing number of human cases among U.S. dairy and poultry workers, the CDC said. The CDC has thus far confirmed 61 reported human cases and 7 probable cases across the U.S., so some scientists estimate that the real number of infections is higher. Yeah, you found 61. Most people don't go to the doctor. More than half of the human cases are tied with interaction with sick cattle. The remaining infections have been traced to exposure to sick poultry or have an unknown origin. The U.S. Department of Agriculture issued a federal order in December that requires the testing of the nation's milk supply. Newsom said Wednesday the state of emergency announcement will give state and local authorities more resources to study and contain the outbreak. The proclamation is targeted action will ensure government agencies have the resources and flexibility they need to respond quickly to this outbreak, the governor said in a statement. Earlier this month, the Agriculture Department said it would start testing the nation's milk supply for traces of the virus, requiring dairy farmers to provide raw milk samples upon request. Until then, cattle testing for potential infections has been almost entirely voluntary. Dr. Monica Gandhi, a professor of medicine and associate chief for the Division of HIV, Infectious Diseases, and Global Medicine at the University of California, San Francisco, said the declaration will likely give California great ability to surveil daily farmers for signs of the virus. But declaring a state of emergency could be a double-edged sword. Phrases like state of emergency, given that we've just been through a pandemic, can induce panic, Gandhi said. It's not time to panic yet, she said. Well, it's really never time to panic. You should be calm and measured, right? Gandhi praises the CDC's very measured messaging around the virus thus far and said health officials are closely monitoring the spread. Of course, Stinky the Clown pulled us out of the World Health Organization because he's a fascist loser who wants to destroy the country. So we're not going to get any help or cooperation from other countries. as we usually would, because, oh no, organization is bad. We need total chaos. Anyway, there's your story on how another way we're completely doomed because we have no leadership. So back to you.
Oh, I thought you had two stories. Okay.
I do, but I got another segment.
No. I mean, I thought you had a double. All right. Well,
I like double up if they're really short.
Yeah, we had, I think back in 2023, the EU also had a bird flu pandemic going on, and we definitely had a lot of egg prices going up because of that. We actually stopped buying eggs for a while. But we didn't have a beef thing going on, too. That sounds...
You realize it was Joe Biden's fault. Joe Biden caused all of that.
I don't think people in Europe blamed Joe Biden for that.
Oh.
Yeah.
But the idiots in this country insist it's his fault.
Yeah, okay. But I'm just saying, I don't think we had a beef problem, which sounds like a terrible combo, honestly, when it comes to what people eat all around the U.S.
Oh, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. It ain't going to get better. Not in this country. Maybe elsewhere, but not here. We're just going to spread it everywhere.
All right. For our next news, Hungary backs down. Yes, something that I'm definitely on the side of is Hungary not continuing to support Russia, as it also sits in the EU. Like, pick a side, dude. And in this case, you do have to pick a side because Russia doesn't like the EU. Russia wants the EU to explode, probably. So why are you supporting Russia while always are also being in it? I don't understand, but Turkey has backed down. Sorry, not Turkey. Hungary has backed down. It's still Monday, guys. And they've allowed more sanctions against Russia through the EU. This is by Jorge Liboriero on Euronews. The EU will be able to renew its sectorial sanctions against Russia after Hungary abandoned its veto threat, which it had linked to energy concerns. Hungary has backed down from its veto threat on today, the 27th of January, and allowed the renewal of EU sanctions against Russia for an additional 6 months, bringing to close the short-lived political saga that had put Brussels on edge. The breakthrough was achieved during a meeting of foreign affairs ministers where a statement about the integrity of the energy infrastructure was put forward to placate Budapest's concerns, several diplomats told Euronews. The prolongation will continue to deprive Moscow of revenues to finance its war. Russia needs to pay for the damage they are causing, said High Representative Kaja Kallas. The sectoral sanctions, which include sweeping bans on oil, coal, and technology, finance, luxury goods, transport, and broadcasting, and the freezing of 210 billion euros in assets from Russian central bank, were due to expire on the 31st of January unless unanimity was found. In the days leading up to the crucial deadline, Hungary ratcheted up its critical rhetoric, arguing Donald Trump's inauguration as U.S. president merited a broader rethink on the bloc's policy, the way sanctions are renewed every 6 months. Last Friday, Prime Minister Viktor Orban upped the ante when he made a direct link with unrelated dispute that Hungary and Slovakia currently have with Ukraine over the transit of Russian gas, which Kyiv terminated at the end of 2024. They didn't terminate it, the contract ended and they didn't renew the contract, right? They're making it sound like Kyiv was like, we're not giving anyone gas, fuck you guys. It's like, no, we don't have access to it. They've closed the pipeline because we didn't renew the contract, and that's it. What is closed now has to be reopened again. This is not a matter for Ukraine, it's an issue for Europe. The issue for Central Europe, Orban said in a radio interview. If Ukrainians want help, for example, sanctioning the Russians, then let's reopen the gas transit routes and allow Central European countries, including Hungary, to receive the gas from Ukraine. Well, why don't you ask your friend Putin there to open the gas, since they're the ones who are actually at the controller with on and off switch. Ukraine just has the pipe. They don't turn it on and off. That's the people in Moscow that turn it on and off. Diplomats, just more posturing, just more lies to make you think, oh, it's Ukraine's fault. Diplomats in Brussels balked at the argument, decrying Hungary's transactional diplomacy, which has played out multiple times since Russia's launched the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Hungary, however, had never before threatened to derail the entire regime of sanctions painstakingly built across 15 different packages. The threats are taken seriously, a diplomat said on Friday, after a meeting of EU ambassadors failed to provide a resolution. First Friday was, what day was Friday? Well, the 24th. Friday was 24th of January. Over the weekend, President Vladimir Zelensky offered signs of compromise when he voiced openness to permit the transit of Azeri gas through his country, something that he had previously ruled out as a game that Russia could easily bypass. There is gas. There are supplies routes from Azerbaijan. The key is to having the political will to work for your people, not with Moscow, for some shadowy benefit or some figures that Eastern Europe do, Zelensky said on the 25th of January during a press conference with Moldovan President Maio Sandu. Of course, Moldova is currently suffering from a huge energy catastrophe because these gas lines are closed and it's in the middle of winter, so it's getting very cold in Moldova. As long as countries, Hungary and Slovakia, have pushed hard for the continuation of transit through Ukraine, be it with Russia or Azeri gas, warning their national economies would be devastated by the abrupt change in energy supplies. The European Commission, which gave tacit approval to Zelensky, the decision to terminate the long-term contract with Gazprom, insists the impact will be limited because EU is well prepared to transition away from Russian fuels. I just don't. When I read the story about the gas being turned off, they were reporting that the contract just ended and that it wasn't terminated by Zelensky. It just ended. Termination, for me, right, using the word termination argues that, we had until March to renew it, and we terminated it in January instead of waiting until March. That's what termination means to me. But as far as I remember when I read the article originally about this, is that it just ended and neither side renewed it. Because I think Moscow is just as guilty of terminating gas as Ukraine is, because it's a contract between those two countries. So, yeah, I don't know why they're making it sound like Zelensky did all the bad things here when Moscow also didn't try hard enough, or maybe Zelensky purposely didn't even try to make a contract. Maybe that's why they're giving him all the blame, because he didn't try. He was like, it's with Moscow, I'm not interested. Unless they stop invading my country, I'm not making any contracts with anyone, which is fair. That's his prerogative. He's getting his country invaded by them. But I just don't like the language I guess they're using here. In the statement presented to foreign affairs ministers today, the Commission and the High Representative described the integrity of the energy infrastructure as a matter of EU security that other countries should respect. The non-binding text refers to the consultations with Kyiv regarding gas and oil flows. It does not mention Russia or Azerbaijan. The Commission is ready to continue discussions with Ukraine on the supply to Europe through gas pipeline systems in Ukraine in line with Ukraine's international obligations. In that context, the Commission is ready to associate Hungary in the process, along with Slovakia, said the statement as seen by Euronews. Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó welcomed the Commission's commitment to engage in further talks with Ukraine. Hungary has received the guarantees it has requested concerning the energy security of our country, Szijjártó said. While the row with Budapest is over, another might be about to start. Brussels is ready and preparing a 16th package of sanctions against Russia with a view to approving them before the war's third anniversary in late February. Unanimity will be required. So, is Hungary gonna pull out another veto? Maybe? I don't see why. They're gonna have to just give up. Or just leave the EU. Like I said, I keep on saying this. I know it's not gonna happen, but just leave the EU, dude. Go join Russia. Let them give you all the stuff you want. I'm sure it'll be great for you. Specifically only Orban. Not any of his people or the people he's take care of. Just him. But, that's what these people want. These people who are in power, who've been in power for way too long, because I think even Orban's been in power for way too long, in my opinion. They just want to keep it forever until they die, and then they can give it to their son or something, or their daughter, or whoever. Yeah, he's been the minister of Hungary since 2010. That's too long for me. But he was in 2003 as well, right? He was in 2003, and then he came back in 2010. And that's too long for me. That's too long of being in power for me. There's my story on Hungary and Ukraine and sanctions against Russia. Also, I did look up the ship that is in Sweden. They're actually come out of Malta, so that makes more sense. I thought they were coming out of Bulgaria, like a Bulgarian port, which for me doesn't even make sense because I don't even think Bulgaria has a
Bulgaria landlocked.
Yeah, it doesn't even have a port, so I was confused. I was like, why are they using a ship? But the ship is explicitly it's from Malta, so it goes from Malta to probably wherever the hell it wants to go. It's a ship, but it's owned by a Bulgarian company, so that's the whole story there. And on to your story.
And I don't think you can register your ship in whatever country you want to. Anyway, this is from Wired.com. Hey, do you own a Subaru? If you do own a Subaru, you may have been experiencing somebody hacking your car. This is welcome to the 21st century, where another country can drive your car. About a year ago, this is from Wired.com. Yeah, Wired.com. Andy Greenberg. What's that?
Oh, I just said, let's go for a road trip in your car.
Without you being in it.
Yeah,
About a year ago, security researcher Sam Curry bought his mother a Subaru on the condition that at some point in the near future, she let him hack it. It took Curry until last November, when he was home for Thanksgiving, to begin examining the 2023 Impreza's internet-connected features and started looking for ways to exploit them. Sure enough, he and a researcher working with him online, Shubham Shah, soon discovered vulnerabilities in a Subaru web portal that let them hijack the ability to unlock the car, honk its horn, start its ignition, reassigning control of those features to any phone or computer they choose. Most disturbing for Curry, though, is that they found they could also track the Subaru's location, not merely where it was at the moment, but also where it had been for the entire year that his mother had owned it. The map of the car's whereabouts was so accurate and detailed, Curry says that he was able to see her doctor visits, the homes of their friends she visited, even which exact parking space his mother parked in every time she went to church. A year of location data for Sam Curry's mother in the 2023 Subaru Impreza that Curry and Shah were able to access. That's a picture caption, sorry. Thanks for writing a paragraph for a picture. Anyway, you can retrieve at least a year's worth of location history for the car, where it's pinged precisely, sometimes multiple times a day, Curry says. Whether someone is cheating on their wife or getting an abortion or part of some political group, there are a million scenarios where you could weaponize this against someone. Curry and Shah today revealed in a blog post their method for hacking and tracking millions of Subarus, which they believe, well, this wasn't today, it was days ago. It was probably last Thursday. Anyway, they revealed their method for hacking and tracking millions of Subarus, which they believe would have allowed hackers to target any of the company's vehicles equipped with its digital features known as Starlink in the US, Canada, or Japan. Vulnerabilities they found in a Subaru website intended for the company's staff allowed them to hijack an employee's account to both reassign control of the car's Starlink features and also access all the vehicle location data available to employees, including the car's location, every time its engine started, as shown in, well, there's supposedly a video along with this. Curry and Shah reported their findings to Subaru in late November, and Subaru quickly patched its Starlink security flaws, but the researchers warned that the Subaru web vulnerabilities are just the latest in a series of similar web-based flaws that they and other security researchers working with them have found that they affected well over a dozen car makers, including Acura, Genesis, Honda, Hyundai, Infiniti, Kia, Toyota, and many others. There's little doubt, they say, that similarly serious hackable bugs exist in other auto companies' web tools that have yet to be discovered. In Subaru's case, in particular, they also point out that the discovery hints at how pervasively those with access to Subaru's portal can track its customers' movements, a privacy issue that will last far longer than the web vulnerabilities that exposed it. The thing is, even though this is a patch, the functionality is still going to exist for Subaru employees. It's just normal functionality that an employee can pull up a year's worth of your location history. When Wired reached out to Subaru for comment on Curry's and Shah's findings, a spokesperson responded in a statement. After being notified by independent security researchers, Subaru discovered a vulnerability in its Starlink service that could potentially allow a third party to access Starlink accounts. That vulnerability was immediately closed and no customer information was ever accessed without authorization. Oh, I'm sure that's true. The Subaru
Liability waiver real quick.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, we know nobody got hacked and had their locations divulged, except by employees of Subaru. The Subaru spokesperson also confirmed to Wired that there are employees at Subaru in America, based on their job relevancy, who can access location data. The company offered as an example that employees have access to share a vehicle's location with first responders in the case when a collision is detected. All individuals receive proper training and are required to sign appropriate privacy, security, and NDA agreements as needed. Subaru's statement added these statements as security monitoring solutions in place which are continually evolving to meet modern cyber threats. Responding to Subaru's example of notifying first responders about collision, Curry noted that it would hardly require years' worth of location history. The company didn't respond to Wired asking how far back it keeps customers' location history and makes them available to employees. Shaw and Curry's research that led them to the discovery of Subaru's vulnerabilities began when they found that Curry's mother's Starlink app connected to the domain SubaruCS.com, which they realized was an administrative domain for employees. Scouring that site for security flaws, they found they could reset employees' passwords simply by guessing their email address, which gave them the ability to take over any employee's account using email they could find. Wow, with such security. The password reset functionality did not ask for answers to 2 security questions, but they found that those answers were checked with code that ran locally in the user's browser, not on Subaru's server, allowing them to safeguard to be easily bypassed. There were really multiple systematic failures that led to this, Shaw said. The 2 researchers say they found the email address for a Subaru's Starlink developer on LinkedIn, took over the employee's account, and immediately found that they could use the staffer's access to look up any Subaru owner by the last name, zip code, email address, phone number, or license plate to access their Starlink configurations. In seconds, they could then reassign control of the Starlink features of that user's vehicles, including the ability to remotely unlock your car, honk its horn, start its engine, or locate it, or as shown in, well, there's no video of this. But anyway, there's your Subaru vulnerabilities. They had really bad problems with internal password security, which is not cool either. If somebody just guess your email address and hack into your system, you don't have security. So there's your story on Subaru, and of course other car owners are going to have the same vulnerabilities. We're not picking on them specifically, but this article is. But back to you.
That is, I mean, not really a surprise because, of course, if anybody pays attention to anything with cars, they've been using fobs, right? To, like, steal your car, too, right? They've been doing that for years now. Just kind of duplicating the programming you need to unlock a car, start a car, and then you can actually just, like, put it in neutral and drive, and then, like, roll it out of somebody's driveway and roll it away. So... you want to steal a car. Well, I wouldn't say it's easier or harder. It's just different than what you would do before.
And you're saying that the people at work sign NDAs, but that doesn't make them secure. It just makes them like they're not going to divulge it voluntarily.
Yeah,
they could be blackmailed into it. Blackmail works.
Yeah, we kidnapped your dog. You better tell us how to do it, or we're gonna kill your dog.
No, that's not blackmail. That's kidnapping.
Well, it's dog napping, I believe.
Dog napping. There you go. Blackmail is we know you gamble.
Oh yeah. We're gonna tell everyone that you do cocaine on the weekends. You don't.
That's right.
Give us all the
cheating. You're cheating. You're cheating on your prostitute. Back to you.
All right. Well, let's go cover some somber news, which is, of course, it's the I think it's the a lot of people are talking about Auschwitz this week, and especially over the weekend. I'm not sure why, but everyone's talking about it.
It's the anniversary.
Yeah, that's
anniversary of the Russians discovering it.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. I didn't want to say because I couldn't see in the article if it was that, but yes, it is the anniversary of. Oh yeah, there's this place people were getting killed in for months, and they're actually opening up a house next to Auschwitz is opening up to the public in order. Even as more and more people are starting to believe the Holocaust didn't happen, or was it real? Whatever. This is on Euronews by, who wrote this? Dave Marquand. The family home next to Auschwitz, immortalized on screen in last year's Oscar-winning film, The Zone of Interest, is opening its doors to the public for the first time. This coincides with an alarming international survey examining Holocaust knowledge and awareness. The house where German SS officer and commandant of Auschwitz concentration camp Rudolf Höss lived with his family will open to the public for the first time today to mark the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the camp. 80 years ago, no wonder people are like, it didn't happen. Yeah, nobody was there. Nobody got there and found all the dead bodies and the piles and piles of clothes. So it didn't happen. Those pictures are fake. Through the efforts of the American nonprofit Counter-Extremism Project, in coordination with Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum, the Polish Foreign Minister and UNESCO, the Villa will become the home of the Auschwitz Research Center on Hate, Extremism, and Radicalization. The New York-based NGO's mission since 2014 is to combat the growing threat posed by extremist ideologies. Commandant Höss lived in a villa with his wife Hedwig and their 5 children for 4 years, a home which stood immediately next to the concentration camp, with their garden wall and the wall of the camp being one and the same. This is the same house that was immortalized in Jonathan Glazer's Oscar-winning film The Zone of Interest, in which we observe the everyday domesticity of the family in the living space built next to a dying space. In 1942, Höss established a helm plan for Auschwitz gas chambers and crematoriums, including the use of the Zyklon B gas. Höss was arrested in 1946, tried by the Polish court, and hanged in Auschwitz the following year. House 88, named after its address 88 Liegenau Street, was bought by a Polish family. It was only in the last year that the NGO Counter-Extremism Project persuaded them to sell the property to transform it into a center to combat hate. The opening of the House of 88 coincides with an alarming international survey examining Holocaust knowledge and awareness. The Claims Conference conducted 8 surveys across 10 countries, including the US, UK, France, Germany, Poland, and Hungary, and while overall awareness about the Holocaust is high, Holocaust distortion is also alarmingly widespread. Overall, a majority of population surveyed did not know that 6 million Jews were killed during the Holocaust, stated the research, adding that 20% or more respondents in 7 out of 8 of the countries surveyed believe only 2 million or fewer Jews were murdered during the Holocaust. Though, to be fair, that's still a lot of people. If it was 10, that's still a lot of people murdered for no reason other than, we don't like them because they're from an ethnic minority. That's not a reason to kill people, guys. Shockingly, many adults surveyed said they had not heard or weren't sure if they had heard of the Holocaust prior to taking the survey. I'm not sure what the Holocaust is. Isn't that a ball? No, it's not a ball. What do you mean you've never heard of the Holocaust? What are they asking? Damn Zoomers. I don't know. It's easier to blame the younger generation, isn't it? This is amplified among young adults ages 18 to 29, who are the most recent reflection of local education systems. When surveyed, they indicated that they had not heard or weren't sure if they had heard of the Holocaust, Shoah, France at 46%, Romania at 15%, Austria at 14%, and Germany at 12%. Right, this isn't just US education system, this is the European education system, okay? The survey results also flagged up that while Auschwitz-Birkenau is the most well-known death camp, nearly half, 48% of Americans surveyed, are unable to name a single camp or ghetto established by the Nazis during World War II. The majority of respondents in these countries, except for Romania, believe something like the Holocaust could happen again. Oh, I wonder why Romanians are like, happening again, it's happening right now. No, I'm just kidding, that's not what they're saying. And Americans and Hungarians are more likely to report the Holocaust denial is common in their countries. In Hungary, 45% of all survey participants stated that denial is common in their country. This is followed by 44% in the US, 38% in France, 34% in Germany, 27% in Austria, 24% in the UK and Romania, and 20% in Poland. Yeah, I mean, if you're living in Poland and you're like, oh yeah, the Holocaust didn't happen, it's like, what the hell? You guys were the first victims of the Holocaust. What do you mean? Additionally, the research shows that nearly half of adults in the US, 49%, in Hungary, 47%, in France, 44%, in Germany, 44%, reported that the Holocaust distortion is common in their country, especially on social media. The alarming gap in knowledge, particularly among younger generations, highlight an urgent need for effective Holocaust education, says Gideon Taylor, president of the Claims Conference. The fact that a significant number of adults cannot identify basic facts, such as 6 million Jews who perished, is deeply concerning. Equally troubling is the widespread belief that something like the Holocaust could happen again, underscoring the critical importance of educating people about the consequences of unchecked hatred and bigotry, added Taylor. We are proud of progress made by our partners worldwide, but this index makes it clear there's still so much more work to be done. The progress referred to is support for the Holocaust education. Across all countries surveyed, 9 in 10 or more adults believe it is important to continue teaching about the Holocaust, in part so it does not happen again. Of course, another worry for me, this is not in part of the article, but another worry for me is that teaching too much about the Holocaust gives people with hateful ideas more ideas. Oh, wait, we could do that. Remember what the Germans did? And yeah, let's do that. I learned about it in school, and I think that's a great idea. I guess, of course, that's always... I don't know. Maybe it just happens. You know, maybe the rise to fascism and kind of authoritarian governments is much more random than it is calculated. Obviously, there are some calculations you have to make. But there are a lot, especially on social media, there are a lot of lines being drawn between what Trump is doing and what Hitler did back, you know, during the rise of the Third Reich. A lot of people are saying, wow, why did you just describe Trump's presidency, you know, or stuff like that? Because is it calculated? Is it random? Is this kind of these steps what creates a fascist authoritarian government without any need of looking back on the past or the future or whatever? I have no idea. But it is very suspicious. And of course, if anybody knows their World War II history, they would have known that Hitler actually got his idea for concentration camps from the U.S. originally. So don't think it can't happen in the U.S. The U.S. started it to begin with.
The Nazis studied Jim Crow in the United States.
And they also studied the eradication of Native Americans and how they all forced them to walk to Oklahoma, the large concentration camp that was Oklahoma at the time. So don't think that can't happen in the U.S. because it already did several times. Because the Japanese were just interned.
Happening now.
So.
Happening now.
Of course, yeah. We have all the people at the border.
They've already deported veterans. Didn't take them long. Fascism don't take long, man.
No, it doesn't. It has to be quick. It has to be quick and
started with the Supreme Court, back in the Supreme Court, taking away our rights, giving the government the right to search any house within 50 miles of the border. Or I'm sorry, it's 100 miles now. So yeah, the Supreme Court's been taking away our rights slowly for years. Drip, drip, drip. Well, idiots pretend the Holocaust didn't exist. Hey, idiots. Boy, I wish we could live without idiots. It'd be so much easier. I still don't have a video for you, so maybe you can find something.
Okay. Well, you go ahead and go to your story then.
This day in history. This day in history, in 1832, January, make sure I get the right day, 27th. 1832, mathematician and novelist Lewis Carroll was born. He's known for, of course, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, or the Licking Glass. That was the porn version. The porn version of that one. Through the Looking Glass was his second book. Alice in Wonderland's Adventures in 1865 and Through the Looking Glass in 1871. So yeah, his birthday today. 1880, American inventor Thomas Edison patented the incandescent lamp. We'll notice we're not saying he invented it. Somebody working at his company invented it, or perfected it, I should say. So thousands of people were working on lamps, so Edison gets the credit, but thousands of people were working on it, and actually somebody at his lab came up with a filament that would burn long. In 1885, Jerome Kern, an American composer who was best known for his musical comedies, was born. In 1944, the Soviet Red Army ousted German and Finnish forces from Leningrad, which is now known as St. Petersburg, concluding a 872-day siege. 1945, as we were just talking about, the Nazi concentration camp at Auschwitz, Poland was liberated by Soviet troops. In 1955, American jurist and fraud John G. Roberts Jr., who served as the 17th Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, was born, and for some reason they have a picture of a woman, which I do believe might be his wife, but no picture of him. It's weird. 1967, during the simulation of a launch, U.S. astronauts Virgil Grissom, Edward H. White, and Robert Chaffee perished in a fire on Apollo 1. That's right. The fire started inside the capsule, and of course, the capsule is just full of pure oxygen, so they rapidly lost all their air, and they died during a simulation on the ground.
Flaming ball of fire,
this
sadly.
date, 1967. 1976, the first episode of the sitcom Laverne and Shirley, a spin-off of Happy Days, aired. It starred Cindy Williams, and Penny Marshall later became one of the first women to achieve consistent commercial success as a movie director. Penny Marshall. And of course, on ABC, was where it premiered. In 1996, Colonel Ibrahim Ber Manasara led a successful military coup in Niger against the democratically elected government of President Mohamed Ousmane. That was in 1996. On this day in 2010, American writer J.D. Salinger passed away. He was best known for Catcher in the Rye, which uses humor and colorful language to portray the sensitive, rebellious adolescent Holden Caulfield. His only novel written by J.D. Salinger, at least the only one he published during his lifetime. 2011, the Yemen uprising began as thousands of protesters, inspired by demonstrations in Tunisia and Egypt, rallied in Sana'a, Yemen, to demand the resignation of Ali Abdullah Saleh, or Salah, and to call for political and economic reform. Not quite there yet, Yemen. 2018, Swedish entrepreneur Ingvar Kamprad was born. He founded the home furnishing retailer IKEA, which was the world's largest seller of furniture in the early 21st century. I'm sorry, this is not his birthday. This is the day he died. The day he died at the age of 91 in 2018. I don't think he was born in 2018. He'd be 7 years old. Anyway, he died on this day in 2018. It's like, wow, a 7-year-old. He's already founded IKEA. Anyway, he got to be 91, so good for him. 1973 is the day the Vietnam War ended. The Paris Accord ending the Vietnam War, America's longest war to that time, was signed on this day in 1973, providing for an exchange of prisoners and for the unilateral withdrawal of U.S. forces from South Vietnam. Our feature biography, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Australian composer, was born January 27, 1756. Happy birthday to Mozart. He was born in Salzburg, Austria, but he only got 35 years. Famously, he died young. December 5th, 1791 in Vienna. The other birthdays today, Edward J. Smith, British captain, born in 1850. William II, Emperor of Germany, was born in 1859. Mikhail Baryshnikov, Russian-American dancer, born in 1948. And we already covered John G. Roberts, American fraud Supreme Court Justice. And what national days is it? It is National Chocolate Cake Day. Chocolate cake, yummy. And National Bubble Wrap Day. We're going to talk about bubble wrap. Pop, 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 pop. And Holocaust Remembrance Day, as we remember Auschwitz specifically and Holocaust generally. And Vietnam Peace Day, also. Vietnam Peace Day, as this was the day in 1973 where my brother, who was about to graduate high school, sighed relief as the draft was ended and there was no more Vietnam War, and we started pulling troops out, which culminated in the collapse of Saigon in 1975. So there's your days, there's your history and everything for this day on January 27th, 2025 on Before Chocolate Cake.
This has been Allison here from the Netherlands. Hope you guys had a good weekend, considering, and keep your eyes out there for any fascists, and learn how to punch with your top and middle finger, and make sure your wrist is straight and like this. Don't hurt yourself punching any fascists out there.
Yeah, one way to do it is to wind up like this and then hit them with a jab, right?
Yeah, do a quick one. Yeah, don't do exactly
when they're expecting that roundhouse, they can duck. A jab, they can't duck a jab that quickly. Plus, they can walk right into it if they're trying to duck it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, little
and that's also Roger from the West Coast of the U.S. We will see you tomorrow for Good News Day. We'll talk about the good stuff that's happening this week instead of, how it's doom and gloom out there. So make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. You have those notifications on so you know when we go live tomorrow. And comment down below if you believe in the Holocaust. Yeah, I'm sure that'll be a great discussion if anybody comments, "No, I don't," and then a bunch of people will attack you. So maybe not.
And the Earth is flat too, and we didn't go to the moon because I didn't see it.
Yeah, tell us your conspiracy theories you believe in that we can bully you over. And don't forget to like the video. And we will see you.
Elon Musk walks on water.
And we will see you tomorrow. Here is the mic drop moment. Little reading.
Was an announcement that we should go to the train.
These people were actually there. It's not so long ago there aren't people alive from it.
Screaming, yelling, "Go fast, fast, hurry."
My favorite teacher was shot on the step because she absolutely refused to get on to the train.
We tried very hard to stay together as a family and hold on
I heard
to
the
each other.
10-second part.
We did not have place to sit. We were standing all along.
On the second or third
Standing
day,
for hours
when
on a
people
train.
started dying in the car, that was a relief. Dead bodies could be stacked like cordwood, and that created a little more space.
The doors opened and they started
Messed up to
yelling,
be happy.
"Get
People
out,
are
get
dying.
out."
There was
So
the
you can
smell,
be comfortable.
this incredible, inhuman, otherworldly stench.
There was bedlam because they were immediately beginning to separate families.
2 SS officers were directing people right or left.
We children held each other's hands, we held our parents' hands. I mean, we're just literally torn apart. And in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
I was separated from my mother. I remember my dad going up that way. I remember staying with my sister.
I had a younger sister holding her hand. A stick came down between us, and she was sent off. I lost her. I lost my little sister somehow. Before we were taken to barracks, we were processed, undressed,
Yep.
the hair cut.
This is
Body
real
haircut.
images. This isn't
Came
fake.
out looking identical. Sisters, mothers wouldn't identify each other. We were no longer people.
You're thrown some ragged, used, filthy,
Oh,
striped
they won't
uniforms.
come for me.
You
They
had
were,
tossed
oh, this
some
only
truthful
happened to
good
certain
souls,
people.
then you
That's the
get
thing
into
that
the
people are
barrack.
going to say now.
Yeah.
And then life starts.
Well, they were
And
doing
life
something wrong. Let's
learning to die.
rationalize it.
When we entered the barrack, minutes after we got in, a young woman was running towards my sister. She told us right away, I want you to know that your mother and your siblings are already dead.
They
And
went to
that
the kill
was also a
zone.
shock, but an unbelievable one. I remember rejecting it completely.
Of course.
I just felt terrified the whole
No,
time.
we're gonna get
I
out
was
of this.
so scared
The
because
denial,
they were
the fear.
looking at us like we were subhumans. They treated us like subhumans.
Actually.
They had all the power, and we were nothing. We were just
In this country,
That
we're
was
just
the
afraid of people
intent.
that are just
Yes.
poor.
Yeah.
One after
Oh my
the
God,
other.
they're
My
poor.
classmates
They're
were
obviously going to
dying
steal your
of
stuff.
hunger, exhaustion, and
Well, if
just
they're any good at stealing, they
total
wouldn't be poor.
mental and physical collapse. I was the last one.
we were next to a gas chamber and crematorium with just an electrified fence. We saw the huge numbers of people walking from the train past
Straight
our
in.
barrack
Yeah.
into the gas chamber.
And never coming out.
And often they talk to us. They call out, where are you from, and what's your name, and do you know so-and-so? Minutes later, the chimneys were belching fire so hard that it was like a roaring sound.
Industrial
It was just
complex.
unbelievable.
Of murder.
It wasn't smoke, it was flames, like a wind. And we had just seen them, we had just talked to them. Little children carried by their mothers, pregnant women. And we can't tell them that they have a few minutes to live. My memory of Auschwitz is the actual extermination. And anything else that was good or bad cannot be compared.
It was a universe of its own.
Yeah.
It was below the human understanding, tolerance.
You had to be
ability
there, which is
absorb.
why there's so many people denying it, because they
constantly
weren't there. Oh,
I
it
just can't
wasn't.
believe
I
it
wasn't
that
there.
Nothing to
people
say.
Yeah.
can deny something that was so right there in front of their eyes.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.